I only am concerned about what I can do to help those people who do have an ear to hear, who are willing to listen, who are willing to act, who are willing to take charge of their lives and bring these criminals down.
Well, greetings, friends. Thanks so much for tuning in. We have a very special guest back on the line with us today. It's the Wealth Watchman. But before we get started, I wanted to wish you all a very happy Black Friday. For most of the Americans out there who are stocking their carts filled with worthless Chinese-made slave goods and adding debt to their credit card accounts, most of us are not among that crowd. And a brief look at the headlines reveals that those of us in the know were doing something far smarter. We were doing our own stacking. As SRS Rocco Report tells us, Silver Eagle and Maple Leaf record sales 5 times larger than 2007 as people stack physical. And from Zero Hedge on Saturday, we've learned that the Federal Reserve confirms the biggest foreign gold withdrawal in over 10 years between the Dutch and the Germans. The New York Fed is having a hard time meeting all the demands for physical gold. So we know that people in the know and central banks and nations in the know are stacking physical precious metals. And that's why we've invited the Wealth Watchman back on to break it all down for us. How you doing, buddy?
Doing very well, Sean, and thanks for having me back.
Well, we're glad to have you back. You know, I was talking with my friend Rory about you, and he pointed out the fact that we kind of introduced you to the world, and your writing is so unique that your articles have taken off in a way that I think maybe was unexpected even to you, because your stuff gets read as widely as anybody else that we post, and your website's really taken off as well.
Thank you. Yes, it's definitely a blessing. I'm very grateful to God for this platform and grateful to y'all in the community who embraced me. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to serve our fellow stackers by hopefully bringing them truth that will help them and will give them courage and inspiration as well.
It's really gotten to the point, Wealth Watchman, where most of us in the know, we really truly do welcome these knockdowns, because I just bought a little bit more silver at $15.50 yesterday on that knockdown, and I know many stackers listening did the same, because we're going to welcome these lower prices. I can buy more for the same amount of fiat. But I think the other interesting thing is that we see the mainstream Mockingbird media tell us that the reason for the slam down in gold and then of course silver is because of this Swiss vote referendum, which is supposed to be happening on Sunday, and they're saying that if the Swiss people vote against rebacking their currency with gold, it's really going to affect the gold market, and that's why prices are down. It's absurd, because does it really matter what the Swiss do, Wealth Watchman? I don't think it matters at all, because we know what China's doing and we know what Russia's doing.
Absolutely. You really hit it on that one, Sean. If you look at the gold forward rates, the GOFO rates, they just keep plummeting and plummeting and plummeting. They just kissed about the negative 0.5% area just yesterday. This is the lowest pretty much this century. Okay, since the year 2000, we have not been anywhere near this figure. And coincidentally, the last time we were near this figure and below it, they had to start dumping sovereign gold with Brown's Bottom in England. They literally had to bail out these short positions by dumping Her Majesty's treasure everywhere on the streets to knock down the price enough to save their bourses, their banks, their trading houses. So absolutely not. I mean, everyone and their grandmother is buying gold and silver right now because they know what's going on, especially in the East, as you have rightly pointed out. It does not matter if the Swiss are overcome by this propaganda bombardment or not.
Well, that's absolutely right. And I actually want to get your thoughts on the Dutch gold repatriation, because that actually came out of left field. Nobody saw that coming. Nobody knew it was happening behind the scenes. And I've got a little theory here I want to share with you. If the
Please.
Germans have had such a difficult time repatriating their gold, how in the heck were the Dutch able to repatriate 122 tons of their gold back from the Fed? And my little theory here, Wealth Watchman, is that I find it very interesting that the Dutch government has refused to reveal the secret deal into the MH17 crash probe. And since the Dutch, along with Belgium, Australia, and Ukraine, who carried out the investigation into the MH17 disaster but would not include Malaysia, the country from which the airline operated, it seems to me that this secret deal that the Dutch will not reveal maybe they were given some payback. Maybe they were given 122 tons of their gold back. That's sort of a fringe theory, but I just think it's bizarre that the Dutch were able to get their gold back and Germany hasn't been. What's your take?
Well, that is an interesting theory. I've always believed, okay, that the new Russians and the Russians had no part of downing MH17 whatsoever. It was not in their strategic interest to do so. It made them lose face with the world, even though no one really actually knew what was going on. It really undermined the efforts of those who are busy fighting this war and those who are trying to help the civilian catastrophe that is unfolding in the Donbass region. So there wasn't really, in that situation, a clear motive to have done such a thing. Now, it's interesting, as you say, that Malaysia and the Netherlands and all those parties that actually were really party to this huge catastrophe, this plane crashing, they are the ones that have been basically shut out of any reasonable parts of the investigation. We still haven't heard of the lost minutes between the plane and the towers, the aviation towers there in that region. It's all a farce and it's all a show. And it's quite possible that what you assert is true. There's no way at this point to prove it, but it's reasonable to assume that this could be, kind of hush money.
Yes, exactly. Hush money from the globalist paymasters, those who would manipulate the precious metals markets and those that would manipulate the currencies. We know about the LIBOR rigging and we know about all of the malfeasance in the financial markets. And you've done such a great job cutting through the garbage and cutting through the disinfo to get to the core of the matter and to get to the truth of the matter about how valuable an ounce of physical gold or an ounce of physical silver is. And your recent Apple computer is worth how much silver? Tell us a little bit about why you wrote that article.
Well, I think it is a sign of the times, a sign of the great comedy we're watching unfold, where the Western central banks are busy rigging all these markets to back up this narrative that there really is a God-honest real recovery across their heart, and everyone else who thinks that they're all out to lunch are just crazy crackpot people. But this headline this last week on Zero Hedge basically said that they had topped, at least for a brief time, Apple Computer had topped market cap of $700 billion. Now, when I made that recording, that was equivalent at this price, at that current price, to 41 years of silver production. That includes the refineries, that includes the mining, that includes everything. It would take 41 years at these prices for planet Earth to produce enough silver just to be worth Apple. I mean, forget the rest of planet Earth. Forget the quadrillions of dollars of derivatives. Forget the trillions of dollars that are being changed hands by these banks every day in their currency rooms. Forget all that. Just this one company would swallow a whole generation of silver production. This is an asinine thought. I mean, this is absolutely mystifying, and it is high comedy, and we have to see it for that. But since I wrote that, Apple basically has maintained that valuation, but silver was knocked down. So at this point, that figure I quoted you is obsolete. It would now take 45 years of silver production to equal Apple. So as the days go by, and this con meets its final end game, we are going to see things that would stun everybody. And everyone here must be ready for that, because they must know deep down in their heart of hearts that it is fake, that it is a lie, that it is a con, that it is a game. And if they have the right information, they will not be gamed. They will not be a victim. They will not be cut down by these people. They can do the cutting. They can be the ones with their finger on the trigger and control the outcome of the situation and their families' livelihoods for generations if you but stand firm.
Well, I think that's exactly why people like your writing, man. I mean, you just really speak with passion. You write with passion. Well, the other thing that needs to be asked about Apple is, okay, certainly it spins off billions of dollars and has, I think, tens of billions of dollars in a cash hoard on the sidelines for investment. It's a very popular, very successful company. All my work is done on a MacBook Pro. I'm a big Apple fan, but there does come a time when everybody should question the valuation. I mean, is Apple as one corporation, should it really be worth more than all of the Russian corporations and the entire Russian stock market valuation put together? I would think not. I think I'd rather own the Russian stock market over one single company. But the bottom line is that as contrarians, Wealth Watchmen, we focus not on Apple Computer, which has a $700 billion market cap or whatever. We focus on a beaten down asset like silver that we know is worth potentially many multiples more than what it's currently trading at. And there's many silver companies that can't even make a buck on every ounce of silver they mine. In fact, they lose money on every ounce they mine. Now, we've talked about the shift back to gold, which Alan Greenspan now admits is money, and citizens and central banks alike need to hold it. But I think we should also touch on India, because central banks, you've written, are terrified by India's precious metals feeding frenzy. We know India is among the BRICS, and the BRICS are all moving away from the dollar. What do you make of India's precious metals feeding frenzy?
That's a really good question. There's absolutely no arguing with the figures. At this point, over the last 3 months, even the taxes, even the 10% tax rates, on importations of gold and silver, don't matter anymore. Because the Indian people are bargain hunters. I mean, few people do it better than them as related to gold and silver. And they see such tremendous bargains that they're happy to pay it, even with the 10% tax placed atop of it. I mean, if someone offered you a brand new Corvette and they said, well, this Corvette is $5,000, but the catch is there's a 10% tax on that Corvette, you'll have to pay $5,500 for it. Well, that's a no-brainer. You wouldn't just buy that Corvette, you'd buy the whole lot. And then you'd flip it to anyone else who wanted it for even a small profit and make out like a bandit. Okay, so they understand that these valuations are absurd, and they are stepping in and they are voting with their rupees. They're voting with their fiat. They're voting with the savings because they've been victims too many times of a government and a central bank that does not care about them, that does not care about their needs and their well-being. And they are responding by voting with their wallets, and they will continue to do that. And it is an amazing thing to see.
Well, that's very well said, and I think that the bottom line is that most of us, at least those of us who are awake in this country, understand that this government does not have our best interest at heart either. The Federal Reserve most certainly does not have my best interest or yours or our offspring or our children's best interests at heart. In fact, they very much don't give a damn about us. And the bottom line is that these central banks, they only want to enslave us. Before we let you go, Wealth Watchman, do you think it's worth exploring the massive Canadian silver maple leaf and silver eagle sales we've seen? Again, I want to give credit to SRS Rockow, who does such excellent reporting. He says, silver eagle sales picked up significantly in September, reaching 4.1 million ounces, surpassing last year's monthly figure of 3 million. And then he talks about the Royal Canadian Mint. In the first 9 months of the year, silver maple leaf sales reached a record 20.8 million ounces. The point being that it doesn't matter to people at this point if it's American Eagles, if it's silver maples. People just want physical. Pretty astounding numbers we're seeing, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's proof that it's not a one-off. It's not a fluke. These silver figures, these record demands for actual ounces are being seen across the board, virtually all the major mints across the world, and they're certainly being duplicated on even the wholesale level. They're starting to really have even problems with the wholesale. Remember, we are the retail investors, okay? We are the kiddie pool. In the past, we've not made as much difference to these people because they know they can make us wait. They can make us wait on our deliveries while they fork all the 1,000-ounce bars over to their buddies. But this is changing. This is changing very rapidly because, as I've tried to spell out before, the retail section is now becoming so huge that it is crowding out a great many of the industrial users who need those 1,000-ounce bars in the big boy pool. And we are stealing more and more of that water level from their pool, and it's seeping over into the kiddie pool. And you can see the strain that their system is under, not just with the SIFO rates or the GOFO rates. You can see it in the turnover at the COMEX, okay? Something I call silver at rest, okay? In the past years, we saw silver at rest compared to what we see now. We would see all these ounces basically sit there and only slight movements from week to week. That's history. That is ancient history. We are now seeing 3 million, 4 million, even 6, 7, and 8 million ounce turnovers of silver going in and silver going out in this one series of warehouses, this one exchange. And what that means is the silver being used for deliveries at the COMEX is speeding up faster and faster because there are not adequate stockpiles elsewhere. The fact of the matter is, the stockpiles in the warehouses of the COMEX are quickly becoming all the stockpiles of any relevance there are anywhere, period. And this is something that everyone should be watching. They should be watching the huge, monstrous turnover of silver in and out of those COMEX warehouses because it portends a silver shortage. And I'm thankful to people like Ted Butler who have taken the time to spell that out for us, because it is worth noting, because it is only started happening since the silver smackdown in April and May of 2011. It did not exist before that.
Yeah, it's powerful information. It's quantifiable, and it's real, and it's why we continue to stack. Now, look, we've been talking about the value of physical precious metals for a very long time, and our critics would say, you people have been wrong, you're going to continue to be wrong, and why don't you just stop talking about it? Well, we're not going to stop talking about the value of silver at $15.50 an ounce, down 62 cents in a day. We're not going to stop talking about $1,100 gold down 21 bucks because of the Swiss vote referendum and the bogus Mockingbird media telling us that, oh, if the Swiss don't vote yes, then gold should plummet. And it's nonsense, because you tell me if you think I'm crazy here, Wealth Watchman, but we know that these people that are in control of these world markets and the financial systems, these central bankers, literally manipulate everything. Their international banking buddies literally are in bed with them, manipulating everything from LIBOR to laundering terrorist and drug money. And we've seen these criminal banks caught for their malfeasance time and time and time again, and nobody goes to prison. But here's my point. If you and I and those listening have figured out that the dollar is on its last breath, that the world is de-dollarizing, and that the world is getting away from even the petrodollar as quickly as possible, we're talking about major world economies. If we know that to be true, certainly all of these criminals in charge running the show know it's true. And my take is that they are driving these prices lower, not only in an effort to potentially save the dollar and to buoy confidence in the dollar by causing precious metals prices to fall so that Americans don't flee to precious metals. Okay, that may be true, but I also think they're driving these prices lower, and they're getting into oil and they're getting into precious metals as quickly as they can with their fiat dollars, because they know when this dollar finally implodes, there will be nothing left for anyone other than those who have tangible assets like physical precious metals and oil. They are getting into tangible assets, while we see our fellow Americans, most of them anyway, fill their carts with crap on Black Friday.
Absolutely, you're exactly right. And at this point, I don't even pay attention to the critics for the most part, unless they're respectable on other issues. These people are not to be fought or resisted. These people are to be pitied. They will be left with nothing. Okay, they have bought into a lie their entire life. People were screaming warnings. They were shouting it from the rooftops, and they did not hear wisdom while there was time. So I do not worry about these critics. I only am concerned about what I can do to help those people who do have an ear to hear, who are willing to listen, who are willing to act, who are willing to take charge of their lives and bring these criminals down. And if you don't mind, I'd like to spend a moment speaking about the Swiss situation, not only to the Swiss, but to the stackers in our community as well.
Yes, yes, by all means, yes, please do.
Yes. Again, if the Swiss failed to greenlight bringing their gold back, don't worry about it, okay? Now, to the Swiss, if you're hearing me, if there's time to hear this before you vote, I've been to your fair country, okay? I have walked the beautiful streets of Basel. This watchman has seen the cultural wonders of your ancient homeland, okay? And I know there is a vampire in your midst. I have seen it. My eyes have seen the Bank for International Settlements myself. And these people do not care about you. They do not love you. They have robbed you of your generational wealth. They have robbed you of your sovereignty. They coaxed you into joining the UN 15 years ago, and now they're busy undermining your very Swiss franc itself, and they have the nerve to tell you what's good for you. They have the nerve to tell you to stay the heck away from your sovereign assets. But my friends in Switzerland, you are holding a golden dagger, and you can run this vampire through at any moment. It is up to you. You have tremendous power. You are not powerless. You are powerful. And you can do all of us an enormous favor around this planet by striking that dagger into the heart of these people. Now, if you don't do that, it's okay. For everyone listening, again, it's okay if they can't do it. Because this vampire, though they may escape the golden dagger's blow, they will soon be incinerated by the rising sun of dawn. We know all over the world that billions of people know what gold and silver are, and they are never going back. And they are going to continue this merciless onslaught in the physical market until this just-in-time system snaps. People have talked about Waterloo with these bankers. These people are not headed for Waterloo. Okay, they are headed for Cannae, C-A-N-N-A-E. Okay, in that battle, the largest Roman force ever assembled came head-on to Hannibal's army, but they did not watch their flanks. They charged headlong, just like these people are doing, headlong over the cliff with these prices, and they were surrounded by Hannibal's army, and they were, to the man, annihilated. These people are going to be annihilated. They're centers of profiteering and profligacy and toxic Ponzi systems are headed for epic annihilation. But you won't be. This is not the time to be a lamb. This is a time to be a lion. And every one of you are brave enough to stack and attack during these merciless beatdowns by these people, because you know what's going on. You know the score, and we have it within our power. It is within our grasp to change this world forever for the better.
Wow. Well, I don't think that there has been anyone who has stated it any better than that. That leaves me speechless, Wealth Watchman. That was beautifully said, and the best possible way I can think of to put an end on this interview. Our guest has been the one and only, the Wealth Watchman, and you can visit his site at thewealthwatchman.com. Wealth Watchman, that was fantastic. Thanks so much for your time.
It's always an honor and a privilege to speak with you, Sean, and thank you again.
I feel the exact same way, and to all our friends listening, I hope you had a very happy Thanksgiving, and looking ahead to Christmas, may blessings come your way for you and yours. I know we all feel like we have our backs up against this globalist New World Order regime, and you know what? We do. The fact of the matter is, we truly are all in this mess together. And with brothers standing shoulder to shoulder and side by side, standing together in truth, in defiance of the New World Order maniacal madmen who want to enslave us, we can be victorious. And I thank each and every one of you for tuning in and sharing this information with those you love. And thanks for visiting us over at sgtreport.com and thelibertymill.com. And thanks for visiting the Wealth Watchman. WW, thanks, man. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks again, Sean.
Thanks for listening, folks. And have a great week.